felt like a loser introducing him as my husband because of his weight, but then this happened.
Hi guys, it's me Sandy, female, 28 years old. I need your help to solve this life crisis of mine. I never thought my life would come to this turn, but yet here I am. So let me tell you what's going on. I'm a teacher at a kindergarten. I got married a year ago with my boyfriend of 2 years. My husband Sean, male 31, is a grocery store owner. In fact, we met at his grocery store itself. As cliche as it sounds, I dropped some stuff from my bag and Sean was there that day. He helped me collect everything, and that's how we started talking. I liked Sean. He wasn't the most good-looking person as such. He had a beer belly, so he wasn't that gym-type dude, which was my usual preference. But I was tired of dating those men and then to get either dumped or cheated. Sean seemed reliable. Not only because he wasn't very good-looking, but he gave that vibe, the reliable type. He was also financially stable in life. That grocery store was the most popular one in the entire area. A few weeks before I started dating Sean, I had a girls' night with my girlfriends, and we discussed how we should give ugly guys a chance as well because they will treat us well. Unlike the good-looking ones who made us chase them, I felt it was finally time to take that advice and implement it in my life. If you're thinking, wow, what a shallow person, then just wait a little. Let me tell you the entire story and then you'll realize my perspective. So like I said, I felt that I should give this guy a chance and see how things goes. So yeah, that's how we started talking. It was completely platonic at first, but then my interest for him grew with time. I started liking his humor and stuff. So after a few weeks, when Sean asked me out on a date, I was like, hell yeah. And that's, ladies and gentlemen, how we started dating. It's kind of bittersweet to remember that considering my present situation, but hell, I have no one else to blame other than myself. After we got in a relationship, everything turned out to be good. I think I fell in love with him at that time. After being in a relationship for around 2 years, we got married a year ago. So basically, we have been together for 3 years. But then everything got jinxed and I lost everything. My husband, my future, my marriage. Even though I thought that I had accepted Sean wholeheartedly, there was still some part of me that wanted him to change physically. I always kept thinking how he would become attractive if he just lost all that weight. But it was always just thoughts in my head for a few seconds, then I would shake it off. But it all got more serious when a few of my friends also got married. Looking back at it, I realize how effed up that was, but what's done is done. Me and my girlfriends met for brunch after our marriage, and they kept talking about how their spouses were so attractive. My friend Sophia couldn't stop gushing about her husband's abs. She showed me their pictures where they looked so beautiful. Everyone took their turns to show their couple pictures, but when my turn came, I felt like running away. Sean didn't look very attractive in person, but his pictures were even worse, and I didn't want to hear anything about that. But I found some courage and showed them our pictures. Their reaction made me feel so bad. When earlier everyone was doing aw and ooh and whatnot. In my turn, they smiled and were like, oh, cute, and gave a smile. It made me feel so bad, like I wanted those aw and whatever too. It felt like I had been compromised in the looks department by Sean, and not to toot my own horn, but I am a pretty girl. That's what everyone told me. Even since I was a child, I have always been complimented on my looks, and now it was like I was on the opposite end of the scale. I also wanted complimented about how me and my husband looked great together. I know it sounds childish, but I wanted that. I wanted that validation from others that we were a good-looking couple. So I decided to take matters into my own hands. I wasn't going to change my husband, but I was going to change him physically. By the time of dinner that day, I had already figured out a diet plan for him. I was just thinking of how to tell him to lose some weight. I had researched some gyms near our home, but bringing that topic felt like a massive task. I loved Sean, I didn't want him to feel bad, but this was really important to me. I just didn't know how to make him understand that. I mean, I thought this was going to be good for him also. Good health and whatnot. When he came home from the store, I served him dinner. He was shocked and started laughing when I told him that salad is our dinner. He gave me that expression like WTF is wrong, and I just shrugged that it's good for health. Did I mention that Sean really loved food? He was a big foodie. So serving him salad went as well as you could have thought. I was so consumed with my thoughts of changing his physical appearance that we stopped even having any physical relation. I thought that maybe that will motivate him to lose some weight. It was like an incentive for him. When he tried to initiate something, I used to change the topic and start talking about the fitness journey I was planning for him. This continued for a few more days. For breakfast, I replaced his waffle and pancakes with oats. I knew how in love he was with his food, and me changing it made him feel really bad. I wanted to drill into his mind that he had to lose weight, so I started making some comments on his body. If he was wearing a well-fitted shirt, I said, "Babe, isn't that too tight?" My intention was just to point out that he needs to lose some weight. I thought I was doing the right thing. putting him on a diet and making him conscious about his body so that he could have a better body. I even brought some brochures from the nearby gym for him. When I gave that to him, he gave me a look like I hurt him really badly. He asked me if I wasn't happy with how he was. He told me that he was noticing my behavior from the last few days. He said that he was tired of eating all this salad and stuff. He sighed and said that I'm turning it to someone he is not. He asked me if I was repulsed by his physical appearance. He asked that question with so much hurt that it made me feel bad. I told him that it's not that I found him repulsive or anything. I just wanted him to have better health. That was a lie. I couldn't tell him the real reason I was suddenly so concerned about everything. He told me that I'm making him the man he is not. He was happy being the way he is. It made me laugh internally, of course. Was this dude delusional? How was he happy being like this? Wasn't there a part of him that wanted to be fit and good-looking? He also made it clear that he doesn't want to change. Well, that made me angry. I felt like he wasn't understanding my point of view. I was just trying to do the best for both of us. I wanted him to be more good-looking like my friend's husband so I could also post more pictures on social media and flaunt us. It quickly became a heated argument. He shouted that I shouldn't have married him if I couldn't accept him the way he is. At this point, my anger had skyrocketed. I told him that I couldn't bear to be in his company anymore and then went out for the night. When he asked me where I was going, I just told him that I needed space from him and to not wait for me. He was still fuming when I left, but I didn't pay attention to it. I quickly drove to the nearest bar in town and ordered myself a drink. I was still pissed at Sean for the way he reacted. Was I too wrong to turn him into a better person? I was in the middle of my thoughts when another guy came beside me. I didn't notice at first, but when he offered to buy me a drink, I looked at his side and got a wonderful surprise. He was a very handsome man, must be in his 30s and so hot. I couldn't move my eyes from his body. He gave a good-natured laugh after noticing my reaction to him. I started talking to him after that. He told me that he wasn't a local and was in town just for some work. He asked me what I was doing at a place like this all by myself. I shrugged and told him that I wanted to clear my head, so that's why I was here. He gave a look like he understood what I was saying. I feel guilty about this, but when I sat there with that handsome guy, I thought that maybe I should not have settled with Sean so quickly and should have gone with someone more like this guy. And I was still regretting my life choices when this guy asked me if I wanted to go to his car with me. That shocked me. I didn't expect that. Yes, I was pissed at Sean, but I was not going to sleep with some other dude. He laughed at my shocked expression and said that it wasn't what I was thinking. He just wanted to go somewhere more quiet and talk peacefully. I didn't think there was any harm in just talking to another man. So I went out with him. We were standing near his car. My back was on the door and we were standing there just talking. He was quite charming, flirting subtly about how he didn't expect to meet someone so pretty here. I don't know what came over me, but I just thought that I would never be able to be with someone like this. I have lost that chance, but what's stopping me right now to kiss him? I could kiss him for a bit and then go to our separate lives. I kissed him and he kissed me back. I was so lost in it that I didn't notice the sound of a car coming near us. When I finally moved away from him after a very long kiss, I got the biggest shock ever. Sean stood there with his hands in his pockets and he looked so mad. I was so shocked that my mind froze and I didn't know what to say. The guy from the bar looked confused as he saw the glare Sean was giving me. He asked if I knew that guy and that finally broke the stare down. I whispered that he was my husband, and the guy was so confused. He looked at Sean and told him that he wasn't a cheater. He didn't even know that I was married, otherwise he wouldn't have looked at me. What was wrong with this guy, I thought to myself. I needed help at that moment and he seemed to even worsen everything for me. I moved to Sean to explain something, anything. I thought that maybe I could calm him down and just apologize to him. It was just a kiss anyway, I didn't sleep with someone else. After the guy went again in the bar murmuring something about cheaters, I tried to go to Sean to explain to him that I was so sorry, but he was faster than me. He came to me and held me tightly by my ponytail and angrily told me that we were over. He said that he was putting up with all my tantrums because he thought that I was loyal to him. He then said, which broke my heart, he said that he regrets that he got married to a WH*re like me. I was so hurt by that statement. How can my own husband say something so mean to me? He said that he was thinking that he shouldn't be with someone who cannot value him and only wants shallow things. But seeing me kissing someone made him sure that I'm not what he wanted. He told me to not bother coming home. He'll send my things later. He said that he doesn't want to waste a second of his time with a bi*ch like me. He left me there and went. At this point, I completely broke down in the middle of the road. How can one night change everything so bad? I didn't know what to do, so I went to my parents' place who live in the same town. I spent the whole night crying and then passed out from exhaustion. The next day, I tried to contact Sean to give me another chance. I had hoped that maybe he was more calmed down now. It was all in vain because he even blocked me. After waiting for another 3 or 4 days, I had finally given up. I told my mother everything that had happened. She was really disappointed with me. She said she thought she had raised me better than that. She even went on to say that Sean was the best decision of my life and I ruined it all. I kept waiting for a few more days. I felt so guilty of destroying my entire relationship because of something so shallow as physical appearance. I only heard from Sean's lawyer who told me that he wants a separation from me. That made me have another breakdown. He had filed the paper also. After a few days, I was coming from school when I saw Sean. He wasn't alone. And when I saw what he was doing, I got the heartbreak of my life. He was kissing someone else. The pain I felt at seeing him with someone else cannot be described. I thought that maybe this is my karma serving me back. It has been more than 2 months since our relationship ended, and just a few days back, I got to know from a few other friends that Sean got a new girlfriend. Apparently, I was all wrong about his looks because many girls find him really attractive. His new girlfriend is prettier than me and even more successful in life. I was drowning in heartbreak that I literally pushed him in the arms of another woman when he was ready to be with me our whole life. And now I was alone and had no one to blame except me and my stupidity. Our separation was finalized by the court on the basis of mutual agreement. Sean was kind enough to not ruin my reputation by saying that I cheated on him. Since I had already signed the prenup, I wasn't getting anything from him that was fair as well. I didn't want his money. So yeah, guys, that's life. I thought I should share it here because I share most of the important things of my life with you guys. I would ask you to be kind with your words and give me some strength to deal with this storm. Bye-bye. Comment 1. Seriously? You need strength for what? To cheat again? Comment 2. I don't get women. They body shame about men so easily, but you say one thing about their body and they start talking about feminism. Update. Guys, it's been 4 months since I last posted. I have another update for you all. Sean is opening another grocery store. He's getting super successful in life with his girlfriend in their new fancier home. Someone told me that she told him that she doesn't want to live in a place which has my bitchy memories. I run into Sean sometimes. When I say run into, I mean I look at him from a far distance. I don't have the guts to face him. He has put on more weight, but honestly, that makes him look even more attractive now. I've gotten a small studio apartment for myself. My parents helped me move in. Sean had sent everything that was mine, but the apartment is so tiny I couldn't fit it. So I have kept more of my stuff at my parents' storeroom. It's so funny that someone is living the life I planned with Sean, moving into a bigger house, opening up more stores, whereas here I am broke and single. Even my friends are ignoring me. They say their husbands have told them that I'm a bad influence. If I can cheat on a wonderful guy like Sean, then what's stopping me from convincing them to do the same? In 6 months, I have gone from living my dream life to living my nightmare. Anyways, that's all. Take care. I gotta go to bed for school tomorrow. Bye, guys.
I always used to underestimate karma. People would say karma is real and slaps back, and I always just thought it was all a big joke. I believed that not all actions had consequences, and that sometimes, even if you did the worst thing in the universe, you would not get any bad payback. Until it happened to me. I'm currently homeless and living in a motel. I did the most horrible thing ever. I betrayed my husband trust, or should I say ex-husband, since we're getting a divorce. I not only cheated on him, but I also vanished with my affair partner. Now I am back and my husband no longer wants me back. He has kicked me to the curb. I know you're wondering how I got here, so let me give you my backstory. My name is Sasha, and I am a 29-year-old woman. I am married to Connor, a 29-year-old man. We like in the United States and have 2 kids. Ryan, our eldest, a 9-year-old boy, and our youngest, Felix, a 6-year-old boy. Connor and I have been married for 5 years. Connor and I met and fell in love in the crowded chaos of our high school, where lockers banged and kids chatted like there was no tomorrow. My world bumped into Connor's. Literally LOL. He was the genius everyone knew, acing every class without breaking a sweat. Me? I was just a regular girl with a knack for getting through the day without being bullied. So as time rolled on, me and Connor went from high school to college. When I hit 20, we had our first kid, Ryan, a little ball of happiness. The sleepless nights and diaper changes were tough, but his first steps and laughter made it all worth it. Fast forward 3 years, at 23, we added another member to our team, Felix. Our little family was growing, and our place was filled with the noise of two energetic kids. Juggling college and parenting wasn't easy, but we made it work with late-night study sessions and a whole lot of teamwork. Graduating from college wasn't just about getting a piece of paper. It was a big deal for us. It meant we stuck together through the ups and downs, from high school hallways to sleepless baby nights. Looking back, our story was like a quilt stitched with love, growth, and the chaos of raising a family. The challenges of college and the joys of watching our kids grow strengthened our bond. So, when we hit 24, Connor and I decided to tie the knot. Getting married felt like the natural next step in our journey from high school to becoming parents and college. The whole wedding planning thing was a mix of nerves and excitement. We picked a venue, wrote vows, and figured out who to invite, all while trying to keep things true to who we are. Our big day wasn't just about traditions, it was about making it personal, reflecting us as a couple. Surrounded by friends and family, we said our vows. Promising to stick together through thick and thin had a realness to it that went beyond the words we spoke. The ceremony unfolded like a mix of laughter, tears, and memories that led us to that point. Going from a couple to a married duo brought a whole new level of commitment. The rings, the promises, it all felt like a solid foundation for what came next. Our families, our stories, and now our shared path as husband and wife. After the big day, stepping into married life felt like a continuation with a fresh start. Sharing a last name, figuring out this husband and wife thing, it was all new, but it was us, together. Married life had its bumps, not always a walk in the park. Connor, as you know, is super smart. He aced college, became a surgeon, and raked in a good amount of money. He even had a side hustle that practically ran itself. So financially, we were solid. He covered all the bills and owned the house, a gift from his mom, but only his name was on the deed. The whole house only in Connor's name thing bothered me, but it was a gift, so I had to bite my tongue. Dealing with Connor's mom has been a bit of a roller coaster from the get-go. Even back in high school when we were just dating, she never really warmed up to me. Things took an interesting turn when we decided to tie the knot. She insisted that my name shouldn't be anywhere near the house deed. To make matters more interesting, she had me sign a prenup before marrying Connor. Weird, right? But I didn't let it bother me too much. I loved Connor for who he is, not for his money. So I went ahead and signed the darn thing. Now, when it came to the house, she vehemently stated that if my name went on the deed, the fancy house offer was off the table. So we ended up with only Connor's name on it. It wasn't an easy pill to swallow dealing with all this family drama. But come on, a 7-bedroom house with a home theater and a pool? Who'd say no to that? I bit the bullet and accepted the deal, even though it felt like a bit of a trade-off. Connor's parents, they're well off and like to shoot for the stars. Since high school, they've been pushing him hard to be a high achiever, and they were the ones who nudged him into becoming a surgeon. And I'm guessing they never really liked me because I was never an overachiever. That Connor thought it'd be great for me to be a stay-at-home mom. Nice idea, but I wanted a bit more. I snagged a job related to my degree. Nothing too crazy, just something to keep me from going stir-crazy at home. Our differences led to some tense moments, but we figured it out. The house hiccup made me grumble a bit, and I let Connor know. He got it, apologized for pushing the stay-at-home thing, and we moved on. Connor, being a surgeon, was pretty much always tied up with work. But hats off to the guy, he really put in the effort to be there for our kids. And you know what? It worked. Despite his crazy schedule, the kids didn't feel his absence much because he genuinely tried so darn hard. On my side, like I said before I snagged a job, nothing too fancy or stressful, just something to break the monotony of home life. The workplace wasn't a giant corporation, but it wasn't a tiny shack either. It was a good fit. My coworkers were cool, and in no time I became part of the gang. After work, we'd hit a nearby bar for drinks or sometimes grab dinner together. Making these plans needed a bit of coordination, especially with the kids at home. I always made sure there was a babysitter or a relative ready to step in. And if I was running late, I'd shoot them a message, keeping everyone in the loop. Things were going well at home until this guy from work, Scott, started acting a bit off. We both started our jobs together but ended up in different departments. Then, out of the blue, Scott wanted to switch to my department. I didn't get it. His department was good, so why make the move? I wasn't close to him, and asking would feel a bit nosy. so I just let it slide. Surprisingly, HR approved his request, and there he was, now part of my department. This whole thing left me scratching my head. Why the sudden interest? What was his deal? However, I let it go as I felt it didn't concern me. Of course, I was wrong, LOL. Before I go on now, let me tell you, I adore my husband. No doubt about that. But appreciating beauty is something else, right? Scott the guy was a looker, blonde hair, blue eyes, the whole handsome package. He fit the classic stereotype of good looking. Plus, to top it off, he had this posh British accent that we'd sometimes playfully tease him about. I thought Scott and I were just messing around with some light teasing, you know? But then, things got a bit weird. Scott started being way too nice, like extra nice. He'd always grab something for me during his lunch break, and I usually work through mine, making sure it was exactly what I liked. If he went for a drink, bam, he'd bring me a coffee, perfectly how I take it. But that's not all. Scott took it up a notch, doing these little helpful things that kinda caught me off guard. He'd tidy up my desk or make sure my computer was shut down if I forgot and left early. These small gestures were nice, sure, but they got me thinking. Was this just being super friendly? Or was there something more behind it? The line between good intentions and, well, maybe too much attention started to blur, leaving me a bit puzzled about what was really going on with Scott, and to be honest, I liked it. So, Scott wasn't just nice, he was like super attentive. Every morning, he'd hit me up with compliments. "You look beautiful. That earring really pops. That dress suits you so well." That kind of stuff. His compliments became a daily thing, and I gotta admit, they got to me. I started putting in a bit more effort into how I looked, secretly hoping for those sweet remarks from Scott. The attention? Yeah, I was all about it. Other girls at work were trying to get Scott's attention with some flirty moves, but he shut them down like a pro. Yet here I was, not even making an effort to flirt or anything, and he was handing out attention like it was free candy. It was a bit surprising, but honestly, I kinda enjoyed being in the spotlight without even trying. Scott's attention made me feel special, and no matter how much I tried to play it cool, I couldn't deny that I was digging it, maybe a bit more than I should have. The dynamic with Scott continued, and truth be told, I didn't take any steps to make him stop. Sure, I could have reported him to HR or something, but I didn't. Why? Well, I was basking in the attention and I genuinely enjoyed it. However, my willingness to let things slide came back to haunt me one day. It was a coworker's birthday, and we opted for a low-key celebration at a bar. I gave my husband a heads up, letting him know I'd be running late due to the celebration, and he was cool with it. And Scott joined us for the outing. As the night unfolded, the drinks flowed, and I must have had a bit too much. In my intoxicated state, I crossed a line with Scott, something I didn't even realize until the next morning. I had gotten so drunk I snuck off the bathroom of the bar with Scott to have sex. So basically, I cheated on my husband with Scott. I was so out of it that I couldn't even drive, and Scott ended up dropping me off at home after our indiscretion in the bar's restroom. He concocted a story, claiming our co-workers elected him to take me home because I was too drunk. My husband bought the story, thanked Scott for being a good guy, and I woke up the next morning with the horrifying realization of what had transpired. Guilt and regret flooded over me as I came to grips with the fact that I had betrayed my husband. I was freaked out, honestly. I couldn't help but wonder if my husband somehow got wind of what went down. And if he did, would he ever be able to forgive me for that colossal screw-up? The guilt and fear were eating at me so bad, I needed a day off from work to deal with the mess involving Scott. I couldn't even face him. How could he? But truth be told, I couldn't entirely blame the guy. We were both wasted. And if I'm being honest, there was a part of me that kinda enjoyed it, which just added a layer of guilt to the whole situation. The next day at work, Scott had the nerve to approach me, and stupidly, I fell for his smooth talk again. He spun this story about how what went down wasn't wrong and it wasn't my fault. Blaming it on both of us being drunk, he then dropped the bomb that he'd love to keep it going. Classic move. He also threw in the line about my husband not measuring up in the bedroom, and against my better judgment, I bought into it. Our bedroom struggles with my husband were real. His crazy schedule, balancing work and dealing with the kids, meant he had little time for me, leaving me unsatisfied. I asked Scott for some time to think, and he reluctantly agreed. But by the end of the day, I made a dumb move. I gave in to Scott's persistence and agreed to have a secret affair. Looking back, I know what I did was really dumb and heartless. If I could go back, I'd undo it, but that's just not how life works. So let me continue. Scott and I got into this secret affair. It felt wild and liberating. I stopped bothering my husband for intimacy because, well, Scott took care of that, and it made me feel happier. This secret thing went on for a few weeks until Scott hit me with a bomb. Out of nowhere, Scott says he's not cool with sharing me and drops the bomb that he wants me to leave my husband. It caught me off guard. He's asking for a divorce. I hesitated, pointing out that was crazy, but Scott wasn't having it. Instead, he floats this idea of us taking a few months off to go to Spain, something he claims he's always wanted to do. I'm shocked. Being the practical one, I ask how we could even afford such a trip. Scott's genius plan? Dip into my husband's money. My husband was rich after all, was he not? However, I immediately explained to Scott why it would be impossible to take the money from my husband. My husband was rich, yes, but we had separate funds. He took care of all the bills, and so we never really had a need for a joint account. So we keep our funds separate. Of course, he buys me stuff, and when I need money, he always gives me, but asking him for a huge amount so I can leave and travel to Spain is just not going to happen. Now, this is where it got even more nuts. Scott suggests we combine our savings for this grand adventure. Logically, it made zero sense, but Scott's had this knack for making the dumbest ideas sound like pure genius. Against my better judgment, I got hooked on this wild dream of a thrilling life with Scott and the promise of Spain. So, like I've said before, it was literally a very dumb idea. Somehow, had this knack for making the most idiotic things sound like the deal of a lifetime, and I fell for it. I decided to cash in on some diamonds my husband had bought me. These gems were no joke, pretty pricey stuff. Selling them brought in a good chunk of money, but we were hungry for more because, Spain isn't exactly cheap. We handed in our 1-month notice at work, snagged our final paychecks, and then with the cash from the jewelry and our savings, we had a pretty decent pile. The plan? Leave in about a week. I packed a bag, kept things on a low, and threw in only the basics, like clothes. Scott held on to all the money we had. During that week, reality hit me. I felt a surge of emotions because, I was about to leave my kids and my husband. My husband even picked up on my weird behavior and asked me about it. I couldn't spill the beans, so I had to put on this act like everything was peachy. I didn't even let him in on the fact that I quit my job, knowing he'd want an explanation. Luckily, he was super busy, making it easy to keep our grand escape under wraps. So fast forward a week, and there I was, jetting off to Spain with Scott, literally leaving my family behind for some escapade with my affair partner. Yeah, I know, heartless move. Please don't judge. I was just being downright stupid back then. If I could rewind time, like I've said before, I would. But, life doesn't come with a rewind button. Anyway, let's get back to what happened. Scott and I landed in Spain, and within 2 of me leaving, my husband was blowing up my phone. Texts like, "You've been gone almost a day. No calls, no texts. What's going on?" I realized I couldn't keep ignoring him. He was already threatening to go to the police, and I didn't want that drama. So I sent him a text, telling him to never contact me again, that I had taken off to Spain with my boyfriend, and I had no plans of returning. Then I blocked him. The first few months in Spain were a blast. We explored, had fun, tried all the local dishes, you name it. It was an adventure, and honestly, those initial moments were pretty amazing. Here's the deal. If you keep splurging money without replenishing it, you're bound to hit empty pockets eventually. And that's exactly what went down with Scott and me. After a few months of living the high life in Spain, the reality check hit hard. Our funds were running dry, and we had to face the music and head back home. I guess I never really pondered the consequences of my actions until the point when returning home became a stark reality. Our extravagant lifestyle left us with barely enough to last more than a day in Spain and still afford a flight back home. So, we made the call to get our plane tickets and hightail it out of there as soon as possible. So, after being away for months, reality hit hard when we got back. And guess what? Scott decides to end things right there at the airport. Classic move, right? "We had our fun, but I'm getting a bit bored. Gotta move on," he says in that annoying British accent of his. dumped at the airport, and suddenly I've got no place to go back to. Obviously, my husband won't be rolling out the welcome mat, especially after flooding social media with pics of me and Scott living it up in Spain. While we were off on our adventure, both sets of parents and friends tried reaching out calls blowing up my phone. But I stubbornly dodged every call. Now, freshly dumped at the airport, I realize none of them are likely to take me in, not even my own parents. With nowhere else to turn, I start dialing up my friends, hoping against hope that someone will lend a helping hand. But of course they shut me down, some even scolding me and telling me to be ashamed for abandoning my family to globetrot with my affair partner. The weight of my poor choices starts sinking in, and tears start flowing because, let's face it, I messed up big time. In a desperate bid to salvage something, I dial up my husband, but he doesn't even answer. Fueled by regret, I scrape together the last bit of cash in my account and find refuge in the cheapest motel I can find, telling them I'll probably stay for about a week. Panic sets in. I'm desperately trying to reach my husband, missing my kids, and fully aware that I've messed up royally. I'm firing off multiple text messages, no response. It's as if my little fantasy world has crumbled, and the harsh reality is smacking me in the face, exposing the sheer stupidity of my actions. That night was a mess of tears. Trying to get back to some sort of normal, I called up my former coworkers to see if they'd heard the gossip and if there was a chance I could go back to work. Well, the news of me cheating and running off with Scott had spread like wildfire at the office, and it seemed like my chances of getting hired again were pretty much zilch. I was officially in a tight spot. Then, out of the blue, my husband gives me a ring. But surprise, surprise, it's not to patch things up. Nope. He drops the bomb that he's calling to talk divorce proceedings. Cue the tears as I beg him not to go through with it. But he's having none of it, pointing out how I can't expect forgiveness after ditching our family for a global joyride with my boyfriend. He insists on meeting at a restaurant, promising to text me the address before hanging up. So, there I am at the restaurant, ready to face the music. I try to hug my husband, but he's having none of it, tells me not to touch him. Disappointing, but not unexpected. No kids in tow, and I get it. After what I pulled, they probably don't want to see me. Cutting to the chase, my husband hands me divorce papers. No beating around the bush. He lays it out. Signing these papers is supposedly in my best interest. And here comes the kicker. He's gunning for full custody of the kids, leaving me with supervised visits only. I'm shocked. Why supervised? Why can't I just have normal visits? Does it mean I can't even take the kids out anywhere? He explains that, yep, I need his permission for any outings. After my previous stunt running off with my boyfriend, he's dead set on avoiding a repeat and me running off with the kids this time. He says he's ready to take it to court to keep my visits supervised. Tears and whimpers escape me, but my husband shuts them down without a second thought. He unloads on me like never before, expressing the hurt and heartbreak I've caused. According to him, forgiveness isn't even on the table. He lays it out plain and simple. I should be ashamed, and showing my face here was a mistake. The harsh truth hit me so hard, he pointed out that I abandoned him and the kids, gallivanting around the world with my boyfriend. He told me that if I thought I could just waltz back into their lives, then I'd better think again. He emphasized that they've moved on, and the idea of reconciliation is nothing more than wishful thinking. I was still crying, saying sorry, but my husband wasn't budging. The house was in his name, no two ways about it. We had a prenup, and since he got the house even before we officially got hitched, well, I couldn't even try to claim it. The prenup, made to protect his stuff, was another thing. Plus, I knew ditching my husband and the kids to jet off with my boyfriend wouldn't exactly win me sympathy points in any courtroom. He told me to sign the divorce papers, making it clear that fighting it was a lost cause. After settling the bill, he hightailed it out of the restaurant, leaving me to face the fallout of my actions all by myself. I had not just lost my family, but potentially any financial leg to stand on. The meeting with my husband happened yesterday, and it has left me holed up in this hotel room, still a wreck of emotions. Reality's hitting me hard. I'm in a tight spot, and the options aren't exactly a walk in the park. It's either reluctantly scribble my name on those divorce papers now, or gear up for a legal brawl that, let's be real, seems like a lost cause. Deep down, I'm well aware that even the slickest lawyer can't magic away the mess I've created. As the weight of it all sinks in, The need to lock down a job is glaringly obvious. The idea of facing life's uncertainties, maybe even hitting the streets, is a daunting prospect. And so I find myself pouring out my story, not just to vent, but hoping someone out there might pick up a lesson from my wild misadventure. Cheating, that seemingly thrilling detour, has turned into a disastrous route for me. So here I am, a living proof of the golden rule. Don't cheat. It's just not worth it. I'm urging others to take this message to heart and steer clear of choices that could wreck relationships and spare them the agony I'm currently wrestling with.